Let me take you back to the long, long ago of 2023. Dyson, yeah, like the vacuum people, decided to step away from cleaning your floors and started cleaning your air via your face with headphones. Now, don't get me wrong, Dyson's usually untouchable. They've got vacuums that look like futuristic weapons. They've made bladeless fans that turn air into art. They've even made a hair curler so popular it hijacked TikTok's algorithm. Everything Dyson touches turns to gold, except this. The Dyson Zone was their first pair of headphones, and for lack of a better word, they were absolutely ridiculous. This thing wasn't just a pair of cans. It was also a head-mounted air purifier with a detachable visor. This thing wasn't just a pair of cans. It was also a head-mounted air purifier with a detachable visor. And this thing doesn't stay on. Why? Well, because they could, apparently. The Dyson Zone wasn't just about sound. It was a statement. A whopping $950 flex that said, I value clean air and active noise cancellation equally for some reason. And if you lived in a city with constant smog or wildfire smoke, maybe, just maybe, this sounded like an okay idea. But for the other 99% of people, it felt like Dyson had taken a wrong turn into cyberpunk cosplay. Make no mistake, this was the worst product Dyson ever made. And in this video, we're gonna dive into why exactly the Dyson Zones flopped. Now, in theory, the Zone did what it promised. It had filters built into the ear cups, which drew in air and funneled it through ducts to the visor in front of your face. Filtered, yeah. Sealed, not even close. There's still plenty of opportunity for pollution to sneak in around the edges. So if you're hoping that this thing would protect you from viruses or allergens, no. It was just basically an expensive placebo. And the real kicker, using the air filter completely ruined the sound. Yeah, the one job these headphones are actually supposed to do. The filter's internal fan was loud. It overpowered quieter tracks. It vibrated the whole unit. And it totally negated the noise canceling, which on paper was actually quite impressive. Without the fan on, the Zone headphones sounded fine. Not amazing, just okay. You could tweak EQ settings in the My Dyson app, which you had to install and create an account for just to unlock basic controls. And yeah, these things were heavy. The Dyson Zone tipped the scales at 670 grams. That's over 1.5 pounds. For comparison, the AirPods Max, already famously chunky, weigh about half that. You could wear these things for maybe like 2 hours before developing a mild concussion. That's not actually true, but neither is Dyson's claim that this was the future of urban mobility. Nobody is commuting with a wearable Chernobyl unit strapped to their head. Sure, the ear pads were made of this like ultra plush micro suede. That did a lot of heavy lifting, but the headband was barely even padded. Eventually, the pressure transferred straight to your skull, which is honestly poetic because Dyson made something you could really feel, but not in a good way. It was like buying a luxury air purifier and a mid-range pair of headphones, just all glued together and worn on your head. To its credit, the Dyson Zones did block out a solid amount of outside noise, up to 84% with the ANC on. But again, the fan basically canceled out the benefit. It was like replacing subway noise with industrial-grade white noise. You didn't escape the sound, you just swapped it for something even dumber. And here's the final irony. The Zone wasn't even that bad once you took the mask off. No filter, no noise, just headphones. At that point, you were rocking a decent pair of over-ears with okay ANC and okay sound. But you just paid nearly $1,000 for okay. So it probably won't surprise you that in 2025, Dyson discontinued the Zones, officially inducting these headphones into the Hall of Fame of tech misfires, right behind Google Glass and like the Microsoft Zoom. And Mr. Suck himself, James Dyson, said it was, quote, ahead of its time. But let's be real, this thing was out of time. This thing would have made waves in 2020 during peak pandemic, when people were already wearing masks, filtering air, and desperate for solutions. But by 2023, all that had faded. And yet, dear viewer, while I'd never in a million years recommend these headphones to you, especially not for you to spend your hard-earned $1,000 on, I have to say, I'm feeling a little wistful that these cans are slipping away from us. When I first started working at SoundGuys a year ago, these things were my favorite pair of headphones in the studio. Not because I knew anything about how they sounded, because as a bright-eyed 19-year-old intern with absolutely no sound experience at the time, I hadn't the slightest clue what I was talking about. I just loved these things for how ridiculous they were, how absurdly quirky and stupid looking they were. And I loved how much they became a conversation piece for anyone who would come to the office. People would do their best Bane impression from The Dark Knight Rises, or they put on the headphones like they wore a Darth Vader mask. Despite the horrible lack of features, the ridiculous price tag, and the absolutely asinine concept, these things were the subject of so many belly laughs, so much ridicule. And if we could rally around that, these stupid pair of headphones, just as something to laugh about, I gotta give Dyson some credit. Not everything needs to be good to be remembered. Sometimes it just has to be weird enough to bring people together. And if that's the legacy of the Dyson Zones, well, alongside the fact that they never worked as intended and were way more expensive than they needed to be, if we can appreciate these headphones as the absurd, ridiculous, gimmicky product that they are, and as a reminder never to take ourselves too seriously, well, that's not such a bad legacy after all. Thanks for watching, buds. I'll see you in the next one.